Carol Wickham from Wickham & Taylor and Crafty Florist Designs, and welcome to my YouTube tutorial about how to make a traditional Christmas wreath. Christmas wreath, we're first going to take a 12-inch wire wreath ring and a reel of moss-in wire. To secure the wire onto the wreath ring, we're just going to tie a knot round one of the spikes and just tighten it and just pull, and it will stay secure as it is. So then we're going to take some of our moss, a handful, and just place it onto the ring like so, and then we wind round the wire and pull tight. Wind it round again and pull tight. Get a bit more moss, place that on the wire ring, again wind it round, pull tight, so that you're actually securing the moss onto the wire ring. So we're going to do that all the way around. So as we come to the end, wind this round, and then we're going to tie the wire in a knot. So this is where you could, if you want to make a loop to hang it on the door, but I'm just going to tie it. So I'm literally just making a loop, pushing the reel through, pulling it tight and doing it once again so that it secures it. And then I'm just going to cut off the wire. Just literally turn the wreath over. As you can see, it's nicely packed on the other side. You don't have to do this stage, but I do this stage mainly because it just protects the door, because moss can actually stain your front door if you want to put it on your front door, and also it's another way of securing the moss onto the wire frame, just give it a little bit more secure. If you're making it at home and you haven't got any of this wreath tape, you can actually cut up a plastic bag, and do it that way in strips. So we get our jar of moss-in pins. We take a moss-in pin and we're placing the plastic at an angle and then popping the moss-in pin in at an angle there. So then we bring in the plastic up and over, so you've got a bit of a triangle there, and then you put another moss-in pin in the bottom fold there. And then as you come to the top, again you fold down, so you're folding over. It's easier if you keep your finger underneath the tape as you're folding, and then we're going to pin that, and then again we're folding over and pinning. So we're going to do this all the way around the wreath. If you are using strips, if you've not got one that actually goes all the way around, you can do it in strips. You just cover it over the little bit that you've just done to start off with. Doesn't have to be one continuous piece of plastic. I am hoping that in the next year or so that they are going to bring out a more sustainable wreath wrap, but as I said earlier, it's just the moment we have to use the plastic. So when we come to the end, I'm just going to cut that and trim that there, and then pin and secure the last piece. So that's our wreath ring covered at the back, and then that's when the next part is the fun part, when we start and put the foliage onto the wreath ring, and then that's the front. So now we're going to put the foliage onto the wreath ring. As you can see, I've got a different range of foliage that I've foraged from my garden and also from the wholesalers. So how we're going to start, we're going to get our reel of wire again, and we're going to tie it in a knot around the wreath ring, double knot, just to secure it, and cut off the excess and just tuck that into the moss there, just to get rid of the sticky out end. So how we start, we just take a small piece of foliage, different varieties, and we're just making a small bunch. We just lay that onto the wreath ring at an angle, so we've got the foliage pointing outwards and the stems pointing inwards, and I'm going to wrap the wire around the foliage and pull it tight to secure it onto the wreath ring. Again, we get some more foliage. This is some lovely spotted laurel, as you can see. It's got a nice yellow in it, so it'll give a bit of colour and variation to the wreath. So we get the next bunch, and we're now placing it in the opposite direction. So we're putting the leaves coming inwards and the stems going out, and we're covering those stems with those leaves, and we just wind the wire around. So you can use whatever foliage you can find. Eucalyptus is good. This is laurel. I'm using some conifer, and I've got a bit of eucalyptus with berries. That's quite nice. So again, making a little bunch, and I'm now going back into the direction I did first of all. So my stems are coming inwards and my foliage is going outwards, and I just wind the wire round and pull tight. That's not gone in, doesn't matter, I'll just put another piece of wire, wind it round there. So we continue to do this around the wreath. This pine, it is advisable when you use it, if you can wear gloves. It has a bit of a sap that's quite sticky and can be irritant to people, but I can't work with gloves, so I'm just used to it anyway. So again, we're coming inwards and the stems are pointing outwards, and we're winding that round. Welcome back. So you can see we're nearly gone all the way around the wreath. We've just got a little bit left there that we're just going to fill in, again using the same technique. So what we're doing now is we're trying to tuck that underneath where we start, the ones where we started. Try not to get that caught in the wire because it'll make it lay flat. So this may be the last bunch, might need another one. It does take quite a bit when you come towards the end just to fill in the gap. But if you're using a ribbon or anything, it's always a good place to put your ribbon there. So we come in, we double backing on ourselves there. So, and just try and not get your foliage tucked into your wire. Then always look when you finish. Always look for a nice big piece that can just fit in there. I'll just find a bit of conifer as well and pop that behind it, and then just literally we're wiggling the wire around so we're not trapping the foliage in the wire. It doesn't matter if you do get some caught in it, it's inevitable really, but you don't want to try and catch as much in. So how we finish off again is we're making a loop like we did with the moss. We're making a loop. I'll just bring the wire around, making a loop and pulling it into a knot, pulling it tight, and then we're doing it again. Just to secure it. Again, you cut off your wire, and you can tuck your wire into your foliage in your moss and just fluff that out a bit. So as you can see, that is a wreath full of the foliage. I quite like them plain and natural like this, but we are going to come back in a second and we're going to put some decorations on it. Hi, welcome back. So now I've just cleared away all the foliage, and we're now going to put our decorations onto our wreath. So what we have here, I've got a red raffia bow. I love raffia because I like the natural look, and it is really good afterwards. The birds like it, they like to take it and use it for the nests and things in the winter. We have some cinnamon sticks. I've bound them together in bunches of 3, again with raffia. We have a lotus seed head. I'm going to show you how to wire that shortly. I'm not going to put this in, but I just wanted to show you the types of decorations that you can use, but I'm not going to use that one. We've got some pre-wired apples and some pre-wired berries. These are from the wholesalers. They come like this, all pre-wired. We've got some pine cones, which I've wired. I'll mention as we go along how I've wired those. We've got some complete full oranges. Again, I've wired those, and I'll explain to you how those have been wired. And we've got some orange slices that we're going to wire and pop into our wreath as we go along. So first of all, I'm going to get my raffia bow, and as I mentioned to you, where you finished off is always a good place to place your bow. This one's going to go, I'm going to have this on the bottom of my wreath. This is going to be the bottom, but you can actually have your bow at the top, you can have it at the side, at an angle. It's entirely up to you, it's personal choice. But this one I'm going to place on the bottom. So I'm just securing that onto my wreath. So as you can see, that's going to be the bottom of my wreath. I'm just fluff it out a little bit and get rid of the excess tie on there. But I'm just going to turn this round so I can now look at where I'm going to place my decorations. So first of all, I'm going to start with the pine cones. I've got 3. We always work in 3 for balance on designs. It's just how they fit. So what I've done, if you can see, I've got a wire and I've weaved it in and out of the pieces of pine the pine cone. Brought some wire down and twisted it so it ends up like a peg. So I'm going to place one straight opposite my bow. So I'm literally getting the wire and stabbing it into the wreath. It will come out at the other side. If it doesn't, don't worry. As long as it's anchored, that's the main thing. But if it comes out, just turn your wire inwards and press it back into your wreath, and that will anchor your pine cone into your wreath. I want to place the other two diagonal opposite there. So again, find a little gap and just literally stabbing that through the moss. Now that one's not gone through. Oh, it has. So I'm just pulling it through. And again, I'm just bending the wire back into the wreath and pressing it in there. So we now have 3 pine cones in our wreath with the bow. The next pieces I'm going to use are my oranges, and I'm literally going to place them diagonally opposite. I'm just going to use 2 in this one, how it's going to, I think, but you might use 2 then think later, oh, I'll pop another one there. So again, we're just popping that through. The wires come through the back and we've bent it back in there. That's one orange. And how I've wired this does take some doing because these are really hard inside. I've got the wire and pushed it through the slats in the orange until it comes out the other side. Bring the 2 pieces down of the wire and twist it together again to make a peg. Place that there. And that's come through again. And that both pieces have come through there. So I'm literally going to twist them together, bend it back and anchor it into the frame so you can see it's nice and flat against the wreath. So I've got 2 there. You can see I've done them diagonally opposite, creating a bit of a pattern. I'm now going to put in 3 cinnamon sticks. I'm going to place these at the side of the pine cones, and I've bound these together but I've not wired them yet. I'm just going to show you how you can wire your cinnamon sticks. So you need a piece of wire about 30 centimetres for your wire, and I'm literally just placing it around the cinnamon stick and twisting it together to form again a peg. So that's a little bit long. I'm just going to snip that off so they're even, and I'm going to place this. Again, this is what you're doing. This wire isn't as strong, so what I am actually doing, I'm bringing the 2 pieces, as you can see, so there's splayed, and I'm going to wrap that around the wreath ring and find it. Just lost it, sorry. Lost the other end. Got it. And I'm going to twist it together behind. So all the workings are actually coming through, and then I'm going to bend it back and lay it flat against there. The wire is too thin to actually come back through the moss and the plastic, but you can lay it flat against it. As long as it's twisted and anchored, as you can see, that's quite solid as well. As I said, I'm not going to use this, but I will show you how you wire it. So you just, again, same length, about 30 centimetres, maybe a little bit shorter. And what you're wanting to do with these, you're literally feeding your wire through. This one's quite difficult, but it will go through. As you can see, it's come through that side. Just use my scissors to pull it through. So I've pulled it through. So you've got 2 pieces like that, and you're bringing it down like a hairpin, and again you would twist so you've got your lotus seed head on a wire, so you could secure it either in that way or again splayed and twisted round. I'm going to pop some orange slices on my wreath, but I quite like them when you put them together, so you've got 3 different sizes together. And again you take your wire, you would put it through all 3 slices. I'll do it separately because it's not going through. 1, 2, 3. So I've got 3 pieces of orange together. Again, you bring your 2 pieces of wire down, twisting, and then you can place that into your wreath. So I'm going to put this at this side of my pine cone, and again underneath, twisting together and securing it that way. As you can see now, it's quite taking shape with the decorations. And lastly, just because I've got a red bow, I think I need a little bit something red in the wreath. If you've used, as I mentioned before, skimming, or you've got some berries in it from the garden, then all well and good. You know, it's even better. As I said, these come from the wholesalers like this. You can separate them if you want, but I'm just literally going to pop them in the bunches that they are. And then we have finally some red apples, and I'm just going to place these. Again, you could bunch them together in 3s or in just as one bunch. You could have that if you liked. You could have that opposite there. I can put this one through there. Quite like them looking nice together. Again, same as the berries, if they're not going to go through, just anchor them in. So there we are, that's our traditional Christmas wreath. I hope you like it, I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial, and I hope you have fun making your own Christmas wreath.